Well, good morning everybody. It is midweek. It is Wednesday, 21st of August. Welcome to another webinar. There is not a great deal to talk about, if I'm completely honest. A lot of these currency pairs look like they're waiting to break out. Just a lot of sideways movement. So I've got a couple of things that we'll run over. We'll see what's in the market, but it's pretty much going to be a holiday day for me today. First of all, just give me a yes if you can see the screen, and let me bring over the Forex Factory calendar, and you should also be able to hear me. I guess I'll find out in a moment if you type Y into the chat. So there's the Forex Factory calendar. Like I say, there's quite a few currency pairs that look like they're just waiting to break out, just a lot of sideways movement. And today we have some CAD news out. If you trade the CAD, well, watch out at 1:30. You got some CPI news out. Then we do have some FOMC minutes this evening. And that could be the push that we need to see a lot of these currency pairs break out. So there may not be any movement until tonight. We will just have to wait and see. So I'm going to move that out of the way. Not really too much on the news front for me. And we will run through a few currency pairs. If you do have anything you would like me to take a look at, or you have any trade setups, please let me know. Other than that, we'll start off on the Aussie Dollar CAD. Again, I think there's only really 3 or 4 currency pairs to go through, guys, so I think this is going to be a very quick webinar. So if there's anything else you want to talk about or look at, quite happy to do that. Last time in the webinar we spoke about the AB equals CD pattern and the potential head and shoulders, and if you recall, it was too small for me to take, but I said this was your left shoulder. If you're aggressive, you could enter in just based on the lower close, or if you feel that that is not the entry and price could go a little higher, as it did, then you would wait. Now, there would not have been an entry on this for me, but it did come down eventually and hit those targets. So it played out, but it was not anything I was interested in. There is absolutely no point, guys, in me going through the Aussie Dollar CAD unless you want me to. There is just nothing here. It is just sideways movement. Nothing on it for me. No bias either, no bullish or bearish bias. So I'll move that one out the way, and I will bring over the Aussie Dollar. Again, don't have anything on it, but we'll just really recap at what we spoke about over the last few days, over the last few webinars, and that was simply that we were within this potential channel, and you could have looked for a retest up here, a potential shorting opportunity. Not a very high probability trade, if I'm completely honest. Stuart says euro dollar double bottom on the daily and broke structure higher. Could look for a 26.18. Okie dokie. We'll take a look at that shortly. There was no double top here. There was no RSI confirmation on the Aussie dollar, so there was actually no entry to look at shorting the market anyway. And again, if we just zoom out, just look at this sideways movement, guys. It's just rubbish. It's not even a breakout pattern for me. It doesn't meet the rules. Market's just waiting to break out, in my opinion. And until that happens, there's going to be very, very little for me. Euro Aussie, still looking at shorting Euro Aussie. As you can see, we got the retest up here, what we spoke about last time. Just as a recap, we have the very big head and shoulders up here, double top 26.18, then we entered trend down here, then just up here we got a retest, but it was not valid. The RSI was not confirmed, and we broke to retest the lows down here, and then we just rallied back up. So there's no trend continuation now. We're just stuck moving sideways, even though the overall bias is short. There's nothing here, guys. Just take a quick look at the 15. And I am just skipping over these currency pairs that have nothing. Again, if you do have anything, just let me know, and I'll quite happily stop and do the full top-down analysis. Here on the 15, we did speak about this potential flag pattern, and you can see it did come into this area here. You saw, let me just delete some of this off. Didn't take this trade. I said that I wasn't too happy with the pole because we had this kink in it, we had this leg in it, and even though this did meet the rules, you can see the 4 touches. We came up into structure just here. We had a long wicked candle and then a structure hold with a red candle, and then look at what happened, guys. You then actually had confirmation because we broke out of the channel in the right direction, and like a lot of what's been happening with my structure trading and breakout patterns lately as well, we got the confirmation and then it went the other way. So I didn't take it because of the pole. I don't know if anybody in the room took it, just let me know if you did. You know, it came into structure, got the confirmed breakout, and failed. So for me personally, nothing here. Obviously we've come down to this lower level just here. We're holding that level. Just go to the 240, take a quick look. Yep, nothing for me, so I will move that out the way. I got a little bit of a sore head this morning, guys. It was quite a late night for me last night. We was at the pub. People were doing karaoke, singers were on, and obviously my family's over here, so it was quite a late night for me. I'm not much of a drinker, so a couple of beers and that's pretty much my limit. Euro yen, very little movement compared to yesterday's analysis. I'm just going to clear this up a little bit. We are now on the dailies, still looking at the big breakout pattern. No, I didn't do karaoke. I would have cleared the place. But they had karaoke on. They had some live acts and singers and various things like that. It's summer over here, so everywhere's bustling with holidaymakers. Still looking at this breakout pattern. I won't go over it again. We did this yesterday. Nothing has really changed. We are just hugging this lower level. What I would say is here on the 240 is we could actually see this turn into a triangle. Now, I did post this in the chats this morning. Now, it's not a triangle yet because we have no confirmed coiling. Now, my rule is that because of this wick just here, it came up to test the closes of the candles. That means that even though we have a descending trend line, we've technically come up to retest the we have come up to retest the close of the candles, and that is not coiling. Okay, we might have a descending trend line, but it is not confirmed coiling. However, if we come up to this zone just here and we fail to retest the closes of the candles, and remember guys, within channels I do say very often we get those breakout patterns. I've shown this many times. We had one just a couple of days ago on the New Zealand dollar, was it, where we double topped 26.18, something like 16 pips for 42, and it hit targets. So this happens all the time within channels, and so I'm going to be paying close attention to this level just here, and this level just so happens to come in at the 1900 psychological number. So unless we get the breakout early, I will be paying close attention to this. It doesn't look like it's going to happen today, maybe tomorrow, but guys, if we get an entry here, this is going to be a very nice setup. You could have something like 230-ish pips of reward, and we could see a double top or a rotation pattern up here, so pay close attention to that. Other than that, there's no point me even going to the lower time frame on the euro yen. I will move that out the way. Okay, not worth doing the euro New Zealand, not worth doing the euro dollar. Oh, actually no, Stuart wants to take a look at the euro dollar. Okay, euro dollar now is, we've come down to this level. I think Stuart said 26.18, was it? Just let me look at the chat. 26.18 on 60. Yep. So Stuart's looking at this down here. So we've got this previous level of structure. We've come down, we've double bottomed. We've had a confirmed break above, close above, and you could be holding for a pullback. My concern is that the initial rally here has actually come into my target projection. So if you have a bigger bias that we are going to go higher, well then you can use the 2618. If your bias was that we was only going to retest previous structure, then the 2618 is not going to be valid for you. Let's go and take a look at the dailies and we will do the top down analysis. We had a move lower. That breakout pattern, it broke out. We saw a pullback. We broke lower again. We pulled up. We had this previous structure level which produced all those wicks. We said that we could see a drop as a result of these wicks. We did. Where did we come to? Previous structure. We came down to test the closes of the candles, and we're actually just holding this area now for the last couple of days. Let's go to the 240. Here on the 240, okay, you have a double bottom here. So let me just go back to the dailies. So you can see then that we've come into the wicks, or we've highlighted the wicks down here and we've come into them. You're then allowed to drop one time frame lower, and this is where you're able to look for your retests or your double bottoms. And right here you have a retest and you have the RSI confirmation that went oversold with divergence. And so if this was a valid double bottom for you, then you could be projecting the market going higher here. It wouldn't be one for me. It's just overall I'm looking bearish. I have no bullish bias here, but if you do, you've got this double bottom. You could actually wait for a bit more confirmation, wait for the break above, close above the V point, pull back for a 2618. What else have you got? Here on the 240, obviously we're not down at the very lows. This is just based on the dailies. So a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, retest. And right here, what I'm noticing is that we've got a 3-bar reversal. And by itself, it doesn't really mean a great deal, a 3-bar reversal. But when it comes into structure, well, then it's going to carry more weight. This is our structure level up here. And you can see we had a big bullish momentum candle, followed by a doji, followed by a lower low, lower close. So you've actually got a 3-bar reversal coming into structure here. The following candle was a long wicked test candle. It's an inverted hammer. We closed in the lower 20%, and this is a rejection candle. So we may actually see a move to the downside here. Would this be a low and tight flag then instead of a double bottom? Yes, it very well could be. We are trending to the downside here on the 240. There is room for this to come lower. Let's go and take a look at it on the 60. So here on the 60, there wouldn't be anything here for me. Like Stuart says, you've just double bottomed, so I wouldn't be looking for playing for a continuation. And then really this is just sideways movement up here. Let's go and take a look at the 15. Again, just junk for me. Nothing here, just waiting for price to move and to break out. My overall bias here is still short. Anything on the euro dollar for you guys? Stuart, yep, that was his worry as well. Yeah, I think we could break out either way here. Obviously we do have a retest on the 240. The 3-bar reversal and the following candle, which is a rejection candle, worries me that we could see a move to the downside. My overall bias is anyway that we are going to move a little bit lower here. So, but no trade for me, nothing that I am interested in. Pound Aussie. Pound Aussie was interesting because I spoke about a couple of things actually. Okay, so from the workings out last time, there was this big back pattern, and you could have actually used that based on higher time frame trend line structure, and I'll come to that in just a moment, but I'll delete it for now. Last time we spoke though, we said that you have a potential bat here. You could maybe look at using that as the entry to get short, and I think if you did, you would have just been stopped out if you used a 113. Oh yeah, you would have been stopped out. In fact, you can see just here, this is where I said you would want your stop loss a little bit further back because it's the lower time frame, and you could look at first targets at a retest of the lows, second targets a little bit further down, and the trade played out for first targets, but you would have been stopped out. Let's go and look at the dailies, because pound Aussie is just in consolidation, but it is adhering to trendline structure. On the dailies, move lower, pull back, move lower, pull back, move lower. Since then, sideways movement, sideways movement. We are just moving sideways, and look at this, just horrible. just junk, just junk. We saw spikes this way, that way, this way, mainly because of news and just still uncertainty here. It's the pound Aussie, so the pound, Brexit, uncertainty. Let's go to the 240. So we looked at this last time. You can actually take the trend line from here, and you've had now test, 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 and this was the test. So just drawing this this trend line out like this. Okay, yeah, let's do it that way. Okay, so just here, this was this was the high previously. The highest watermark was here, and we did have a confirmed break above, close above, indicating that price is going to go higher. So this was a good area to buy down here, and once again, if the market now comes lower to this point, it would be another good area. And as you can see, we've got an ascending trend line, and we've really got the market going higher. So if you were to get an entry down here, first targets would be a retest of the highs here. Secondary targets, guys, I would hold to see if we get a big breakout here to the upside. As we drop down the time frames, we'll take a look at the 60. You can see that this was the big bat pattern that you could have used as the entry. The only problem here is that on the 60 we actually broke out of the trend line. So you can see we held it, held it, held it, broke out. So it wouldn't have been valid for me, but if you was already in it and you was using the 240, because the 240 held structure, as you can see there. But there's absolutely no reason here why we cannot wait for another entry down in this zone. So what could we have, guys? Well, we could have another pattern. X2A, A2, we would need it to come down for a 50%. Now the problem here is if we waited for another pattern, the 886 is right there, and that would mean then that we're going to violate our trend line. So actually waiting for a bat, cipher or Gartley is not going to be something we can do. So what else can we do? Well, we can simply wait for a rotation pattern within this zone. That would be the thing to do for me. Let's take a quick look at the 15. And again, just junk. As you can see, no real movement here. It's just slowly dribbling down. You may actually be able to look at a trend trade on the 5. Maybe. Okay, so the trend on the 5, we've got a high probability here, guys, don't we, of coming down to retest this trend line. There's still around maybe 30 pips to go. In terms of the trend, we had a new low, a pullback, a new low, a pullback, a new low, a pullback, and you're now going to have to wait for a new low, then a pullback. This is your entire outside return. Look at getting short, maybe on a second chance entry. Stops, as usual, would go an ATR above the outside return. So if you got involved here, the ATR is currently 8, so that would make you 26. I'd maybe go 2 extra pips because this is the lower time frame and targets down at this point, giving you a positive reward to risk. But you would need to wait. You'd need to wait for a confirmed break below, close below here, and a pullback. Just take a look at the 5 range. Yeah, nothing guys. But I would certainly be very interested in buying this up. Let's take a look at the dailies. With all this sideways movement, guys, I think you'll agree that we're going to break out one way or another. The longer we coil or consolidate for, the higher the probability we're going to break out with force. And if that force is bullish, then we could see quite a big pop here to the upside. I would suggest secondary targets up in this level. Now this wick has already come up to retest this level. So yeah, secondary targets up at this point. Yeah. So let's just work out what the reward to risk would be here, guys, on this trade. Do it from the 240. So here's the trend line. We're looking at getting involved here. If we can get something like a head and shoulders, a double bottom, you may even have to take a couple of shots at this. I'd be quite aggressive because you do have a lot of pips up for grabs. Yeah, you may actually just want to play for first targets up here and secondary targets up here. So you'd end up with something like this. First targets up here. Yep. And secondary targets up here. So this is certainly worth a few shots if you can get involved with some sort of rotation pattern down here. I will certainly be doing that. 279 pips just to first targets. In actual fact, because this trade is so big, I may only look at taking first targets. So certainly keep an eye on that anyway, guys. I drop to your lower time frame, even the 15. Just look for that retest. So for now, I'll move that out the way if there's no questions on it. Mikkel says at the 17900 psychological number. Yeah, we're currently there at the moment. It wouldn't be any form of entry for me if we go back to the 240. Then even though we're pushing lower, we haven't come down to test that trend line. And in actual fact, remember guys, we draw this out on the closes of the candles, okay? So the first close of the candle is there and the latest close is there. So that means price actually has to come down another good 30 pips or so. And then we could actually spike through it 50 pips or so. So it could come down another 80-ish pips this before we actually look at getting our entry. So I wouldn't be interested now, but I will simply be monitoring this. Bye bye, pound Aussie. What else do we have? Pound yen, guys. I spoke about a back pattern on the 5 range. I did delete the workings out, but in the last webinar we had X to A to B, B to C, CD completion. And I said watch out for a rotation pattern. I do also say that you need to allow for a little bit of movement on the 5 range because we typically don't hold structure to the pip. But this was the back pattern. If you go to the 5 minute, you'll actually be able to see structure was held here on the 5. So I'm going to put a structure level on at the very highs of this big wick just here. And oh guys, I do apologize, I take that back. We did not hold structure, but it did double top. So if you did get involved, yeah, that was a nice winning trade, but the valid top I thought was valid but was not. But winning back pattern. Looks like you may have a small flag. 1, 2, 3, 4. Previous structure in the wicks. You could see a little pop to the downside. The problem here is that if you read the trend, new high, pull back, new high, pull back, new high, you failed to violate this level. So for me, unless I had some extra confirmation, I would only be looking for a retest of this lower level. So nothing on the pound yen then for me. Morning, Khan. We're just saying there really is not a great deal out there. Looking for a long on the pound Aussie due to the trend line. Looking for a retest of that zone. Pound dollar, guys. Yeah. Pound dollar. Anybody got anything on the pound dollar? We spoke about this in the last webinar, this potential breakout pattern. And I said it wouldn't be one for me, but if you were getting involved, then stops, you can see we drew them out. And you would have just been stopped out if you placed your stops where I placed them, which was actually not the best place. See this, guys? 1/2100 psychological number. Whenever you have psychological numbers, you're always best off being behind them for this exact reason. If you'd got 5 or 10 pips behind that psychological number, this would have been a winning trade for you. It wasn't one for me, but you can see we violated structure the wrong way, and then it turned and hit targets. And I cannot tell you the number of times that has happened to me in the past 4 weeks. Remember, guys, 700 pips is what I'm up to at the moment of trades that have just done this. They've just violated structure, or they've just gone the wrong way too far, stopped me out, and then gone and hit targets. This is unprecedented for me, the number of times this has happened. But if you got involved with that and you had your stops in the correct place behind the 1/2100, as you should do as per the educational material, well then you banked a few pips on this. I don't know if anybody got involved. I will delete it off and go and take a look at the dailies. Dailies, I'm still looking short, guys. Move lower. We've got this small retracement, a move lower, and then we're retracing. So I'm still looking at the market coming a little bit lower here. Car says small positive news for pound. Don't think we have any major effects. Damn news, I'm sick to death of it. Usually news goes 50-50 one way or the other, and obviously if you got good stock placement, you're with the trend, or you're in a breakout pattern, whatever it may be. I'm usually on the right side of the news. Not lately. So here on the 240, this is just junk and just rubbish. Just look at the movement we've got. We don't have that lovely smooth ebbs and flows, that lovely continuation. We just have junk. Just rubbish. Move higher, pull back, move higher, pull back, move higher, pull back. We've come up to retest this level. Overall, I'm still looking at the market coming short anyway. Just nothing here. On the 60. Okay, on the 60, you do have a 2618 setting up. So this was your previous structure level just here, which double topped. It then broke below, it pulled back for a 2618, and then it broke to the downside, and then we rallied all the way back up to this point. So I'm going to extend this structure level, and right here you have another confirmed double top with a break below, close below. So 2618 traders, you could now look at shorting the market at that 61.8. Stops going 80 hour above the first test, which is currently 13, so it's going to make you 88.91. So that's going to be your risk. And targets, well, my overall projection is that we're going to come lower. The question is, when are we going to do that? If you remember in the last webinar, when we looked at this double top, we said that when you get involved with the 2618, you want to be quite aggressive with moving to break even or reducing down the risk, because the double top did not occur at the top of structure, which is up here. And the safest place for your stop loss is above the outside return up here. That is your safest place. If you get involved before that, you have a higher probability of the market coming back up, if you remember. And that's exactly what happened. So with that double top, the 2618, we then entered trend, and then boom, news came out. Merkel, she said that, I can't remember her exact words, but they will think about redoing the deal, or they'll think about maybe making a change to Brexit, to the actual deal. So sorry about that, I just got a text. I'm out on a boat this afternoon. My wife just texted me seasick tablets. So that's exactly what happened, guys, and I think this is just a piece of good education to take away, is that your safest stop loss is always going to be above the outside return. And if you get involved halfway, in the middle here, you're going to want to be more aggressive reducing down the risk, because this can happen. And you have the same situation here, don't you? We've come up again for another test, and depending where your target is going to be, you could actually look for a retest of this lower level. You could maybe look for, nope, there's not going to be a bat. I wouldn't shoot past this level for first targets. You could maybe look for this level down here for first targets, so something like this. And if you were to do that, guys, you could look for an inversion, maybe a 127. You got a 127 around that area for first targets, and then look at holding second targets for the breakout down to this point. I can't trade 26, well, I don't trade 2618s just on their own. They're not high enough probability for me. I need some additional confirmation. So 2618 traders, there you go though. You do have another opportunity. And if you did earn some decent money on that first 2618, then congratulations. You do have another one, by the way, guys. I'll go ahead and do this now on the dollar yen. So on the dollar yen, you can see the workings out we've got here from the last webinar. I think it's on the 15 I need to drop. I think this is a 2618 at market. Yeah, okay. I think it was on the 60. Okay, so here on the 60, you had a double top. It was confirmed because we broke to the downside, and we've pulled up now for a 61.8 fib, and so you have another 2618 there. Again, similar situation. I would look at first targets, retest of this level, second targets down here, and if you are holding for third targets all the way down at that lower level. Let's just go and do the full top-down analysis on this then. So this is our lowest structure level, and we have not come down to test it. We had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, pullback, move lower. We then violated structure the wrong way, bullish, sideways movement, and then we broke to the downside. On the 240, this is the reason then that this, although it may look like a head and shoulders, doesn't meet my rules, because it did not come into the structure lows. And for me, my bias then is that we will actually at some point move lower. However, like a lot of these currency pairs, it's junk and moving sideways. So move higher up into our previous structure level, which is just here, and then we've kind of just been just doing this rubbish. This wouldn't be a breakout pattern for me. My overall bias is short here, but if you draw this trend line out and you drop to the 60, then you do have this trend line. So double top, double bottom, double bottom. How many times do I need to say that within trend lines, within flags, ascending channels, descending channels, low and high, tight flags, all of them are channels, and you see these rotation patterns, and rotation pattern here, rotation pattern there, rotation pattern there. You can use the 2618 to play for a retest of this level, or hold it again for the breakout. Drop to the 15. Is there another rotation pattern up in this zone? And no, there is not one here. But you do have the 2618, so that's that market. Maybe 25 pips up for grabs, depending where you're playing for targets. For me personally, I'm just gonna stay out. It's not high enough probability for me. Plenty of 2618 trades. I'll be glad when the market breaks out and we get back to some sort of normality for me. New Zealand dollar. We spoke about this last time, where we said we were in trend. We had the double top. You could look at first targets here, I said, or you could wait for secondary targets down at this level. Well, both happened. But what happened is we tested the lows of structure. We saw a pullback. We saw a spike, we saw structure being held again, and then it came back down to test the lower structure level. So the review on the dailies is structure level here at this lower level, and because of this big wick down here, we technically don't have a confirmed break below, close below, and so really we're just dribbling sideways. It's all we've done for a couple of weeks now, just dribble. I still am expecting, in fact we've almost done it, I was expecting the lows of the 240 to be tested, and we've now done that. Nothing on the 240, nothing on the 60, nothing on the 15. Nothing, guys. What else do we have before we call it a day? Nothing on there. Oh yeah, there is one other thing, guys. Pound New Zealand. We do have this big back pattern. X to A to B, B to C, CD completion is up here at the 9,000 psychological number, and if you go to the 240 time frame, we are actually within this channel. I'm just going to redraw this out. And we are actually holding structure on this channel. So we have the channel, which is we still have a little bit higher to go, just up here, but we come up into this zone, which will be the 886 of the back pattern, which will also be 5 pips above that 9,000 psychological number. Okay, let me just clear the chart up a little bit. Okay, so there's your 886. I would look for a rotation pattern within this zone at the channel, and drop down one time frame to the 60. And when you zoom in, it's not really producing a great deal now. You might get something like a head and shoulders maybe. little double top up here, and then you short. Pound New Zealand, it's been doing a lot of movement lately, so the ATR is very large on it. Targets on this pattern would be a 382, and you could hold for the breakout of the channel if you believe we're going to go bearish, and that could offer you something like 124 pips. Not quite as big as I thought. So that's the Pound New Zealand for me, guys. Been monitoring that one as well to see if we do get some form of entry on that bat and the channel. Any other questions, any other currency pairs, guys? Karen says, no, please, I am in it. Lol. Okay, what are you, bullish or bearish on the Pound Aussie? Sorry, the Pound New Zealand. You bullish or bearish on that one? I did have a quick scout around the other currency pairs as well, guys, and there's nothing there either. No trend, no breakout patterns, just sideways movement. So not a lot for me, guys, I'm afraid. It's going to be a very quiet day. Karen is bearish. Looking for the breakout of the channel as well, maybe. There could be a lot of pips in that if you do get the breakout bearish. I'm sick to death of the pound. I have been on the wrong side of the pound every time. Yesterday I was 85 pips up on the pound yen, thinking great, we're on our way to targets, and I come back later, Merkel spoke, and it an hour later, and it rallied the other way. Great, thanks pound yen, stops me out as well. So Karen's waiting for a retracement on the Pound New Zealand. Okay. Any other currency pairs, guys, you want to take a look at? It really is not a great deal for me. Lots of 2618 trades. I think the market's looking at all of them are just waiting for breakouts. So just a very quick recap if you've only just joined us. You have another 2618 trade here on the pound dollar. That is how I would do targets for a retest of this structure level and hold for secondary targets. We have the euro yen. Remember on the dailies this is a low and tight flag, but this could turn into a triangle. I'm hoping it does turn into a triangle, and we're going to be looking for a rotation pattern up in this zone. I don't think it's going to happen today, but you never know. Still looking for shorts on the big euro Aussie, and if you zoom out, don't forget we have this big trend line just here where you could wait for secondary targets. And I think there was one more. Let me just move the chat out of the way. There was a couple more actually. You have the pound Aussie. You're going to be waiting for an entry here and seeing whether or not we can get a big bullish breakout here. You could look for first targets at a retest here, or you could look at first targets here, second targets here, whatever you want to do. And the last one was the euro dollar. Couple of there's a 2618 on the lower time frame. You have a double bottom here, but my concern is that 3-bar reversal rejection candle at the previous structure level as well. So just for me, sideways movement. What was it on the 60? Yeah, there was nothing on the 60 other than this double bottom down here, which you could wait for a 2618 for. So lots and lots of 2618s. For me personally, I don't think there'll be a trade for me today. We may not see any movement until 7 o'clock tonight, until that news event comes out. Khan says, same here, pound is playing some bad games. I have never had so many trades just stop me out and then go on to win. It's been ridiculous. Anyway guys, thank you very much for joining me. As I say, not too much for me. I don't think there'll be any trades today. I am out on a boat this afternoon, so I won't be in the chat. I will be living the high life, watching whales, swimming with the fishes, submersing my black and blue toe, which I kicked a rock on yesterday when I was running on the beach. I'm limping. So enjoy your day trading, guys, and I will see you this evening in the chat. Take care.